From the Falcons' perspective, Tiffany, you live in Atlanta, so we're going to start with you. My mother lives there. My kids still haven't spoken about the game. My mother said people in the city don't even bring it up. They do not even mention the Super Bowl. You are most embedded with this team. How devastating was this in the aftermath? And we're going to kind of expand to see if this is one of those types of losses. That's like a Bill Buckner type loss with the Red Sox. Like, generationally, are they going to get over this?
I mean, that's as bad as it gets. Like, you can't really sugarcoat it. It was awful. But let me tell you why I think that they'll bounce back. I know you're going to kick the chair out from underneath me, but let me just get to it. Look, the brotherhood stuff that you guys always hear about coming out of Atlanta may sound cheesy, but that stuff, it's the real deal. Those guys believe in Coach Dan Quinn's message. We saw them bounce back from last season when they really, crapped the bed there, starting, 5-0, and then falling off the rest of the way. I think they can recover from this because it hurts so bad. And because of Dan Quinn and how they handle things there with living in the moment, I guess doing the whole cliche thing, taking one game at a time. But you talk to every guy in that locker room, and that's stuff that they genuinely believe in. There's no egos in that locker room either. I always talk about Julio Jones in that regard. When you have a team like that gets along so well, and I think things can come together for them, and I think they can recover.
Okay, Mike, we hear teams every year.
There are no egos in that locker room because I think there are going to be some bruised egos. 2016 Carolina Panthers meet 2017 Atlanta Falcons. I'm not sure that they're going to fall off, but the previous decade we saw that the Super Bowl hangover was real for a number of years, and this is what I think is part of that, just in general. There's a natural inclination to say, God, we were so close. We're right there. All we got to do is take that next step.
Right.
And you forget how hard it was to climb to that point in the first place. It's almost like you take that for granted psychologically. And also a lot of things have to go right with injuries and all that. So that's the first danger. The second danger is Kyle Shanahan had a huge impact
That's the biggest question
on that team. And it's not like they just promoted Matt LaFleur, the quarterback's coach, who's a very good coach, and tried to keep the same system. They went down and took Steve Sarkisian after his one-game stint as Alabama offensive coordinator. So they're obviously changing things up. I worry about a team that has traditionally hated success. Before the Thomas Dimitroff regime came in, they had never had back-to-back winning seasons. And this wasn't your average Super Bowl defeat. They blew a 25-point lead and lost.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Kyle Shanahan and the impact he had, because the biggest impact he had on that team was taking away their championship. And so when you begin to think about Super Bowl hangovers, I think about the biggest reason they didn't win is now gone. And so when I watch that game, if I'm Dan Quinn, I'm showing him the first 35 minutes of it. And I'm saying I'm watching a team here that's blowing past the New England Patriots.
But that's not fair in that Dan Quinn has to greenlight those plays. So if Kyle Shanahan should have dialed it back, and it's hard to argue in retrospect.
But if you're trusting what he's doing all season, look what the offense did all year.
How many times have we heard coaches tell us that a Tony Dungy or some other great coach who's more conservative made them dial it back and keep
No, but if something's not broken throughout the season, what they're averaging like 32 points per game during 34 points per game, whatever it was during the regular season, if it ain't broke, why are you going to take the
Shanahan did outcoach him the first 35 minutes, did outcoach Bill Belichick.
But I think we can also say, aside from the scheming and the play calling, the team they had on the field was faster, more athletic, looked better than the Patriots.
Did Kyle Shanahan really outcoach him? Because that offense really wasn't on the field when they took that halftime lead. They had a couple big plays, but they had the pick six to get the big lead. But it's also moving it forward, too, guys.
For 35 minutes.
NFC South. I mean, the Carolina Panthers, do we expect them to bum it up like they did, like they did this year? No. Tampa Bay's not going anywhere, and the Saints are always a thorn. That is a tough division to win back-to-back. I think Atlanta has the talent, but now you got, Freeman want a little bit more cash. The disease of me.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Yes, the disease of me could possibly set in. The fact that Dan Quinn has gone through something like this before in Seattle, though, where players are going to want more money, some things, happen. I do like the fact that their coaching staff is turning over a little bit, though. I think stagnation is what hurt Carolina.
Dan Quinn certainly knows what it's like to deal with a devastating Super Bowl defeat.
Right, absolutely.
But the pieces are still in place there. More than half of that defense's starting lineup in their first or second year. You saw the leap that they took throughout the season.
Confidence. Ton of confidence.
Huge amount of confidence there.
All right, well, we got to wrap this up right here because